Greetings. I'm going to talk to you today about 3 different options for concealing full-size pistols. In this case, I've done my experimentation with a Glock 21, and I deliberately chose a full-size pistol because I knew that it would push each of these concealment options to their limits and reveal their strengths and weaknesses. So there are 4 points we're going to cover today. Let me talk about what the holsters are that you have in front of you. We've got the Galco ankle holster here. I've got a Tech IWB Nano holster, and then I've got a Galco M7X holster here. This is an outside-the-waistband holster. So on the first point of concealment, which is the most concealable option, that's probably going to go to the ankle holster just because people don't tend to really look that low. You can print with this holster if you're wearing tight pants, but if you're wearing loose, baggy pants, it's very hard to see. And again, most people's visual focus is going to be on your head and on your torso. So it's a lot easier, in my opinion, to see people printing with waistband holsters than it is to see them with ankle holsters. So the best job of concealment is probably going to be from the ankle holster. Number 2 is going to be inside the waistband. This is a very important point which really drove my decision as to which of these products I thought was best, which I will reveal at the end of the review. There is a huge difference in concealability between the inside the waistband and outside the waistband holsters. Yes, I said it. And even though the M7X is a very minimalist and slim holster, it actually prints considerably more than the Tech Nano. And the reason is, just because of the mechanics of how this sits on your body, I do small the back carry, and the Tech Nano really gets into that lumbar curve, and the gun basically disappears into the lumbar curve. So it sits up against your body, like so, and this part of the gun just disappears in the lumbar curve. Now, when you use an outside the waistband holster, you are adding another 2 inches to the print of this gun. It has nothing to do with the size difference in the holsters. Notice they're about the same size, but this just doesn't conceal as well. I can get away almost wearing very, very tight t-shirts with this inside the waistband holster, but not with the outside the waistband holster. So concealment, they're here in order of concealability. You've got the ankle holster, you've got the inside the waistband holster, and you've got the outside the waistband holster. The next thing, let's talk about comfort. So in terms of comfort, I am going to rank the M7X as the highest. Because it is outside the waistband, there's really not much of anything that's touching your body. It's easy to forget that it's there. Then I'm going to go with the ankle holster. One thing you will notice about this holster as you use it during the day, and yes, you can get a Glock 21 magazine in here, is that it does kind of work itself down to the bottom of your ankle. That's just going to happen during the course of the day. And finally, on comfort, not to say that this is an uncomfortable holster. This is the most comfortable inside the waistband holster I've ever used. I think it blows away any of the hybrid holsters like SHTF gear, the King Tuck, or the CrossBreeds. So not to say this is an uncomfortable holster, but in order of comfort, here they are. 1, 2, 3. So let's talk about the actual draw of the weapon. So I think the best draw for me is coming from the Tech Nano. And the reason is, it just seems to be able to, it has a great fit. This is the only holster here that actually has an adjustable fit. And it just seems to guide the weapon as you draw it out. The M7X, surprisingly, even though it's minimalistic, doesn't really provide the best draw experience. And I don't know how to explain that other than to say it's from experience. So really, really love the draw on the Tech Nano. Not so much on the M7X, and the draw is easy, but what I would call very, very sloppy from the ankle holster. So this is in order of how much I like the experience of drawing the pistol from the holsters. The last thing we can look at is fit and security. So as I mentioned just a moment ago, this is the only adjustable holster, the Tech Nano, and it's got really an absolutely fantastic fit. And you'll see there's a tensioning screw here in the back that you can actually adjust to change the fit and get it how you want. And the retention actually takes place against the front of the trigger guard here. And you can get it tight enough to where you're going to need 10 or 20 pounds of force to withdraw it. I think you can even get it tight enough to where, for some strange reason, you ended up upside down, you would still retain the pistol. So I really like this for fit and security. It does cover the trigger guard. Let's look now at the M7X. So it is covering the trigger guard. Unfortunately, no adjustability here. That kind of bugs me. It is super tight when you first get it from the factory, and so I just left the gun in the safe with this holster on to kind of loosen it up, and now it's just about right. One thing you will notice I do have custom sights on here. They're not high profile sights by any means. And one of the things in terms of fit and security you'll notice is that the M7X kind of gets beat up here, which I really don't care for. I don't think that the holster is going to fail because of this wear, but you can just see this large scratch in here, and at some point, you know, you're going to be missing a substantial amount of plastic just from drawing the gun. This ankle holster is a no-go for me from the standpoint of fit and security, especially for a large pistol like the Glock 21, because it just doesn't cover the trigger guard. I don't want any kind of concealment holster where the trigger guard is going to be open, and I could totally see a case where you would be running and the gun could actually come loose, which nobody wants. So fit and security, winner is the Blade Tech Nano, then followed by the M7X, and then followed by the Galco ankle holster. So overall, which is the best holster? So for me, for small to back carry, the Blade Tech Nano takes the cake, and nothing else is even close to it. So I already mentioned that this has the lowest profile compared to any other outside the waistband holster, even a concealment holster like the M7X. And I think it also blows away, as I mentioned, the hybrid holsters, which just have too much material and they're too bulky and too unruly. And the great thing about this holster here is that you can actually put your belt on first and then just slide it in and do the snaps. And it's really quick. The M7X also has that feature, so it's really quick to actually just be able to pop on, and surprisingly comfortable when you wear it. You can actually sit with it as well. So the only case in which you could go with the M7X is if comfort is really, really important to you and you wear a lot of baggy clothing. I don't. I tend to wear tight jeans and tight t-shirts. Let's not say tight, let's say slim. And this is the holster that really allows me to get away without printing. Whereas with an outside the waistband holster, you're going to be forced to pretty much wear a jacket or a loose, for instance, button-down shirt all the time. So that's everything that I wanted to say about the holsters. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Oh yeah, real quick point on comfort. Both of these holsters are good at keeping the guns away from your body. And one thing which I really like that they've done with the Nano is that they have this piece here which does a good job of keeping the metal off of your skin. This is the part that actually touches your back, and it's great. I didn't have any trouble with the polymids here eating up my skin, and I certainly didn't feel any cold slide against my skin. And that actually reminds me, just jumping back to the comfort point, you will feel metal against your skin with the ankle holster. And yes, it warms up after a while, but it is a factor in comfort. With the M7X, the gun doesn't really touch your skin, but the cost of that is that you're losing concealability because the gun is further away from your body and you're printing more. So hopefully that gave you a sense of some of the options that you have for concealing a full-size pistol, and I highly recommend the Blade Tech Nano. I think it's a great inside the waistband holster, and I think it's the best of all the three solutions you have here.